Hi, the full thing's up on Nebula and Patreon. I don't know what else to tell you. Enjoy Dragons.
Dragon Time.
Dragon Time.
Season 2, Episode 3.
Let's go.
What happened in this one?
Jeez, look, time passed, characters talked, some things happened, but, not too many things.
Like, after the explosive catharsis of Episode 2, the characters are now, trying to take a minute. Daemon has stormed off from Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra is attempting to have a conversation with Alicent. Aegon is recuperating, and Aemond are recuperating in the dysfunctional ways that they know how.
Larys is positioning himself at court. We meet Gwaine, and Alicent's trying to reposition herself as well, and Rhaenys is warning everyone, and then Rhaenyra has to strategize to get her family to safety. There's a lot of subtle movements this episode, but nothing too bombastic.
I would describe it as jostling. It is a reconfiguration and a reshuffle that's occurring after the explosions of the previous two episodes.
Yeah, and I feel like we're going to get more explosions before too long also.
I think that the chances of explosions are approaching 100%. But while Rhaenyra and Alicent and even, in a way, Daemon are pausing, the inertia of the conflict that they started is racing ahead all over the realm.
Yeah, you don't get to choose how other people react to what you're doing.
You may have become sick of the stuff you started, but it's not sick of you, and it's continuing.
It's sort of like a death of the author thing, where Rhaenyra and Alicent and Daemon and Aegon are no longer in control of this thing they've created, and now the Brackens of Blackwoods are taking it into their own hands. They're writing fan fiction about this war by killing each other by the thousands.
Yeah, that's true, because the Brackens and the Blackwoods confronting each other in the Riverlands, one of them is saying that they have the narrative of, Rhaenyra is a kinslayer who killed their little kid, and that's why Rhaenyra is wrong. Yeah, they are taking the narrative that they've been given by the Blacks and the Greens respectively and are running with it.
Yeah, and they're using it to express their own conflict. That it's been, and that's what's great about this is it was mentioned in season 1 and it's, contextualized in this episode.
I think that what's great about the Blackwood Bracken thing, and also with Simon Strong at Harrenhal and his sort of glib, unfussed reaction to everything, is that it's a reflection on the main conflict, the Dance of the Dragons. It's them saying that, isn't this a bit silly? When we dress up in different colors and we fight each other for unclear reasons, and this has been happening for thousands of years, and it's going to be happening in another 1,000 years. It's isn't this all a bit pointless? I mean, the ruins of Harrenhal as a setting is we've already had the war.
Yeah.
This place is already broken.
What's the point? Why are we still doing this?
Why are we fighting over this leaky castle?
I really enjoy a lot of what Simon Strong says in this episode. Daemon shows up in Harrenhal and he's expecting some epic confrontation where he gets to demonstrate how epic and badass he is. Yeah. And then it's just this old bloke sitting at his dinner table saying, "Oh you can have Harrenhal, yeah."
But unfortunately, the beans may be lacking. Is life not? Are beans not more important than wars at the end of the day? I enjoyed Simon Strong very much. And I love that it continues Daemon's constant failure to achieve any kind of satisfaction or to get what he wants. He came there for a war and he got beans. And he's furious. It should be a good thing that he just got the castle. He got the biggest castle in Westeros for no effort. But no, he wants to bash heads.
He doesn't want beans. He could have beans at home.
But as it turns out, the real challenge for Daemon to face is himself and his own guilt when he has the visions of young Rhaenyra and of dead Jaehaerys.
Yeah, Millie. We got to see Millie in the young Rhaenyra wig.
Yeah, she's back. Wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, that really jump scared me.
I think Harrenhal definitely is the standout of this episode for me. It does make the point, which is that there are these existing conflicts and disputes which are being inflamed by the Dance of the Dragons, by this conflict between the Blacks and the Greens. Everyone's taking it as an excuse to relitigate their own BS.
Yeah, Daemon most of all.
So then we hard cut to the devastation of the war.
Yeah, my goodness, that really caught me.
Yeah, that was unexpected. That was rough. I'm sure they thought about should we film a whole battle sequence? But then they realized none of the characters are important enough.
Yeah, we
to
don't
show
have
them.
any connection to any of them except for all of the Giga nerds who are just obsessed with House Blackwood,
Yeah.
including myself. But I really loved this choice of just hard cutting to the brutal aftermath of this ultimately petty squabble.
I like that we get to see the actual titular burning mill in the Battle of the Burning
Well,
Mill.
yeah, it gets name dropped later, so the audience needs to understand what the hell that is.
Yeah, I think all of that's done well. I mean, there are some minor characters involved in the Blackwoods and the Brackens at this time who they could have highlighted, but I guess they are choosing to introduce them later, if at all.
Yeah, we might hear about someone complaining about this event in the future.
Are all of these corpses floating? How deep is this river?
There's a horse corpse as well.
Would a dead horse float like that in a river? I don't know. It does not bear thinking.
Yeah, maybe it's not that deep. Maybe we're just not supposed to know.
So remember
it's not our purpose to know these things.
This was discussed in the small council scene in season 1, just before Rhaenyra offered for her son to marry Helena.
Yeah.
And then Alicent refused.
Yeah, the conditions that would have prevented war from breaking out.
That's such a good through line, because like you look at these thousands of people dead and it's like, oh, hang on.
If Alicent had said yes in that room, these people might still be alive.
Yeah. And I think this is like great context for like the later conversations. Like when Rhaenyra is trying to convince Alicent, hey, let's prevent this war because it's going to get thousands of people killed. This is what we're talking about. Like we can see it. This is the horror that we're trying to prevent. And neither Rhaenyra nor Alicent have seen this, but we have. They shared a womb.
They share a grave. They entered the world together. They left the world together.
That's depressing stuff.
The poor Tittensaw twins just sitting there having dirt piled on them.
I hope they were paid extra for this.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they did a fantastic job of playing corpses. I mean, I believed it.
It's an actor's dream.
Is it really them, do you think? Because, like, I mean, you don't want dirt going up your... That's got to be a
prosthetic.
Prosthetic. I mean, it's expensive to make those fake corpses.
It'd be
though,
so
isn't
much
it?
cheaper to just pay them a little more to have dirt shoveled in their faces.
Just hold your breath, Luke. I promise we won't cover you entirely.
That's Elliot.
How you do not know which one's which. Don't tell me you do. You wouldn't bury the Kingsguard armor, surely.
No, you
Such
take
nice
it off.
armor.
True.
We've now seen like 3 distinct modes of dealing with the dead. We've seen the Valarions putting their corpses into the sea. We've seen the Targaryens cremating their corpses. And now we've seen ordinary people being buried. And I like how all these different forms
These
of
men
death
are
ritual.
not ordinary. These are the greatest knights of the Seven Kingdoms. There's nothing ordinary about them.
Well, where's House Cargill from?
I don't remember.
Crownlands.
We figured it out.
Yeah, no,
Off the top of our own noggins.
House Cargill is from the Crownlands. And I remember now because in the House That Dragons Built behind the scenes feature for episode 2, we get to see Helena's drawings. And Helena has drawings of rats, and Helena has drawings of Daenerys on fire, and Helena has drawings of geese. Oh, now I've got to look up what that is. Because Helena's drawing foreshadows their
I thought
death.
this was a bit. I thought you were having me on.
No, this is a very serious goose conversation. I do not jest about geese.
Many have a taste for goose.
The goose kills its reflection and dies both.
Wow.
Helena saw it coming.
What else has she seen?
So you saw it, you heard it here first. No, I saw it on Twitter. You saw it on Twitter first.
What's that on the right there?
It appears to be a baby that is on fire.
Yeah, so it does.
Like Jaehaerys is about to get cremated. There are also some headless critters. There's the Rat King again.
Yeah. Is that a boar?
Does look like a boar. Do you think that is the boar that
It kills
Rhaenyra
Robert.
stabbed?
Well, if she saw Daenerys on fire, she could have seen Robert being killed. Who knows?
I think
Because that was Bloodraven, That was Bloodraven walking a boar to kill Robert to start the war.
naturally. I think the boar that killed Robert is a descendant of the boar that was killed by Rhaenyra.
Hopefully. It was in the Kingswood, so why not?
Yeah, I mean, they're like cousins at least. Yeah, so the Cargills are geese, and now they are buried. Sad stuff.
Sad geese.
Sad geese. I suppose this means that canonically Eric and Eric honk. Rhaenyra is fairly sure that Alicent doesn't want this war, and Rhaenys doesn't want this war. But as the Blackwoods and Brackens demonstrated, there are a lot of ambitious, angry men who want to escalate the violence into battle. Although, interestingly, despite all of Rhaenyra's assumptions, Rhaenyra goes to all this effort and danger to talk to Alicent. And when Rhaenyra says, hey, let's stop this war, Alicent says, yeah, nah, it's too late.
Yeah, Allison figures that it's a futile effort now. There's nothing we can do. It started.
Well,
If you had told me about this misunderstanding 3 weeks ago, then yeah, but nah, sorry.
But I think part of it with Alicent is also just her saying that my grandson is dead
Yeah.
because of you. Like,
Well, and Rhaenyra says, my son is dead because of you. My son is dead. Your grandson's dead. We've all had dead. And that's what perpetuates these cycles of violence that George keeps writing about.
yeah, Simon in this episode says sin begets sin begets sin.
Yeah. As a fat old man, do you think he's a bit of a George insert?
Well, he does like venison.
Yeah. He's talking about food. He's talking about he's talking about all the themes of the story. I think Simon is George. He reminded me of Samwell Tarly. Like, as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh, they're doing John Bradley, but old.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that actually. Like, and the way, I think that Simon's manner is almost fourth wall breaking. The way that he does not seem a part of the conflict that's happening. He seems sort of above it, as though he's seen it before or indeed has written it before.
Yeah. Rhaenys is perceptive to the point of realizing that Otto would not have sent Arik Cargill. Oh, this ploy, pretending to be his own twin, that's so stupid. There's no way that Otto would have ordered that.
Yeah, only a teenage king or a YouTuber would agree to such a prank.
Yeah. A prank. Have you ever pretended to be Alt Shift X?
I don't know if I could pull it off. That guy's so uptight. That guy couldn't make a sandwich without making a spreadsheet. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I could pull it off at all. Could you imitate?
I reckon I could.
You reckon you could?
I did that video, Alt Shift X explains Preston Jacobs, and that was me. That was all me.
That was all you.
But people think that I just edited clips of Alt Shift X.
It was a very compelling impression.
Thank you.
So Kristen does his trademark stare into space.
My God.
While the swirling void of hell is just spinning inside his brain. So yeah, Kristen is scary, and now he's the second most powerful person in the realm, ostensibly.
And with Aegon being so pliable, he is basically the most important person in the realm. He's the most powerful person, which is a very scary thing.
I enjoy how much of a goddamn weather vane Aegon is. Like it is laughably easy for Larys to just point Aegon in the direction of, oh, you should fire your hand.
Aegon appointed Kristen as hand because he was in front of him.
Yes.
Yeah, so Aegon really is like the most suggestible person.
Yes.
He's just impulsive and he'll do whatever is in front of him. And I get the impression that he wasn't talked into making his mates Kingsguard. They were just in front of him and he needed more Kingsguard.
They're talking about taking a squire to lose his virginity, and Aegon has to remind his friends that they have now sworn an oath of chastity.
And they have a giggle about, good one, my lord.
And then Aegon sort of sternly says, no, like, for real, you can never have sex again. But like, I think the point is that they have not discussed this.
No, they have not thought this one through.
I do feel that Aegon is so deeply, wonderfully unserious about everything he does, and it just goes to show how much he needed Otto, because Otto had Sirius coming out the wazoo.
Yeah, we remember when Otto helped Rhaenyra choose her Kingsguard. Otto was like, here's a group of people you could choose. Don't choose Kristen Cole because he's unimportant.
Yeah, you just know that Otto had like 1,000-word dossier on every one of those 5 guys and was like, here are the relative political and martial advantages, and he had like a pros and cons column. Like, he had everything sorted out.
He had the Alt Shift X sandwich spreadsheet for Kingsguard.
And Aegon's just like, oh, my mate Marty,
he's good with a sword. I've seen him swing it around in the yard.
He knows which way is pointy. It'll be a laugh with the lads.
Yeah, it'll be fun having him around more. I think about Viserys, how throughout this episode, Rhaenyra sort of defers the decision of, going to war or not going to war. Rhaenys cautions her, and then those counselors, they're like, no, we need to go now. We need to go. And she just keeps sort of dragging her feet, as like in the same way that Viserys did. He didn't want to make decisions because he didn't want to get dirty. And so Rhaenyra like exhausts literally every other option. She does something basically insane, sneaking into King's Landing to talk to Alicent. Yeah. And I feel as though only now that hasn't worked, like the craziest thing she could have done to prevent this war from breaking out has failed. Now she's going to do it, right? And in comparison to Aegon making decisions without thinking about them at all.
It was very much Viserys-coded behavior by Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
And that's really highlighted at the end of the episode when she was talking to Alicent. And they were talking about how no, Viserys really did want Rhaenyra to be the heir.
Whoops, guess it doesn't matter anymore.
Which is pretty unconscionable by Alicent. I feel like this episode makes Alicent a villain. She walked away from the only conversation that might have saved thousands of lives.
Well, they had the conversation, they had the realization, and Alicent figures there's nothing we can do now. Like, even if I did go back and say, whoa, Aegon, actually untrue. More information has come to light that has shown me that Viserys didn't want you to be king. Give me the crown, please. Get off the throne, hand over Blackfyre and all the authority. It's just not going to work. What can Alicent do at this point?
And I suppose, in fairness, Rhaenyra also, threatened to murder Alicent with a knife in a church, which is like not the best way to start a peace negotiation.
Seeing Rhaenyra in a church it's like dressed up as a nun is such a strange thing.
It was like the Sister Act, man. It was funny. Yeah, I mean, it was not perfectly handled by either Alicent or Rhaenyra, but I mean, the circumstances were less than ideal for both of them. So, yeah, I feel like Alicent should have given it more of a red hot go to maybe not let everyone get murdered. How possible is it to use a dragon in war without it having a rider? Is it possible for the Blacks to say, like, yo, like Vermithor, Silverwing,
Cannibal.
Maybe not the cannibal. Is that possible? I feel like they should be talking about that.
There's an idiom about herding cats, and I figure that dragons are at least comparable.
I would dare say that a
people.
fire-breathing flying lizard might be even less amenable to taking orders than a cat. But I mean, I know that...
Have you ever owned a cat?
Yeah. No, that's fair. Because in Game of Thrones, Daenerys seemed to have no problem.
Who?
I know. Danny T...
Oh, Kelly
C of the Great Grass Sea had little problem leading Rhaegal and Viserion into battle without them having riders. And that's what I'm saying. Like, what's stopping the Blacks from getting Vermithor and Silverwing to do the same thing? We've seen it on God.
Emilia Clarke's bullshit psychic powers, I guess, is what's stopping them. I love this chair.
It's a dope chair. I'm sitting in one just like that right now.
Damn. Jasper Wilde is really interesting to me in this episode and in the previous episodes as well. He's really cynical about the Greens. He's such a straight shooter in saying, well, this is fucked. What's going on here is bad.
Now that Otto Hightower is out of the room, Jasper feels like he is the most senior man who can now just say what he really thinks.
Well, is Kristen Cole going to stop him? That's what happens in this scene. The council basically just devolves into blabbering.
I think this scene is great because it shows how Otto's absence, everyone just lashes and is a mess in his absence.
There's an elephant not in the room that everyone's not talking about.
So who's going to clean up all these peanuts?
Yeah, Aegon spilled all the peanuts. Otto used to pick up the peanuts.
Do you think Aemond has a peanut behind his iPad? Actually, we get to see Aemon's peanut later in this episode.
His peanuts is hanging.
Kristen is maybe not qualified is the sense that I'm getting from this.
Yeah, maybe this impulsive handing of the highest office in the kingdom to whoever was next to me was a bad idea.
I feel like on some level, Kristen knows this. And so the first thing Kristen does when he becomes hand is leave. It's like the best thing I can do as the leader of this government is to just be somewhere else.
Yeah, Jasper Wilde will figure it out.
Who's in charge now? Is Jasper Wilde the government now? Are people going to start listening to Alicent?
It's sure as hell not Aegon. Alicent seems to think it's not her. Is it Larys? Is Larys in charge of the kingdom now?
Oh my God.
Well, you get the feeling that, like, especially after the scene in the brothel, that Aemond wants it to be him.
Yeah, he's one of the more assertive, powerful people in this room now. It's not going to be Tyland.
No.
He's a horse.
He is a horse, and you can't make a horse the king.
Didn't they do that in ancient Rome?
There was one emperor who made a horse consul, I think.
The horse was a consul.
Yeah. The consul was a horse.
So it's possible. There's a precedent, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, in ancient Rome.
We've talked about all of the great like blocking and like body language in this show. I like the
Give
ways...
that kid a knife.
Yeah, like Aegon was playing with balls in the previous episodes. Now he's playing with knives. And the way he...
Are they going to install a bouncy castle next episode?
Lord Grover Tully is a flaccid old fool.
Is that coming from the Iron Rod?
And they talk again about Daemon.
Ooh, our second Daemon mention in as many episodes.
How are we pronouncing it? They say like Darren.
Darren.
It's always been Darren in my head. And you say it Daeron, like Daemon.
I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it?
I'm sure the Valyrian pronunciation guide says it's Dairon.
Dairon?
Like Bylon and Daimon.
So Matt Smith is Daemon Targaryen?
Yeah. In the Valyrian pronunciation guide, yeah.
Daemon.
Jeez.
Daenerys. Like in Game of Thrones.
Aegon wants to go out with Sunfire, while Aemond wants to go out with Vhagar.
But Vhagar is going to defend the city and Sunfire, and Aegon's too important to go anywhere, I guess.
It seems so obvious that Aemond should be the one to go out because his Vhagar is stronger and Aemond is more capable as a warrior.
No single dragon is going to defeat Vhagar.
But Aegon is so crushingly insecure and he wants to assert himself.
I'm as fearsome as any of them.
Yeah.
I'm cooler than Daemon. I'm cooler than Aemond.
So then we're on Dragonstone and we see Sea Smoke.
He's restless.
Sea Smoke appeared to Adam in the previous episode.
Maybe he's calling for a new rider.
I think Sea Smoke's confused.
Yeah.
Because Laenor's over the sea.
But he's been gone for like 6 years.
Well, yeah, so why now?
Maybe it's because he knows the dragons are about to start fighting. Maybe Sea Smoke knows that Laenor is dead. Because what is the line here? Yeah, Mysaria says Sea Smoke is lonely, and then Rhaenyra takes a moment and is like, God, and then she walks away. I have my pet theory about that's how Rhaenyra knows Laenor is dead, and I've been harping on about that for 2 years, and I want it to be true, but maybe it's wishful thinking on my part.
I mean, Mysaria is looking lonely here.
Yeah.
And Rhaenyra is lonely. Her husband just left her.
Yeah, so there's more reasons than just she realizes my theory is correct.
Maybe
for Rhaenyra to walk off.
Rhaenyra and Mysaria should get married and move to Norvos.
Oh, totally.
That'd be a lot better for everyone involved.
Why Norvos?
It's got bears. So Mysaria changes her mind and decides that she will be involved in politics.
Yeah, I would like to be your advisor.
There's a lot of people who keep complimenting Rhaenyra, saying, hey, it's so great that you're not fighting this war that you're in.
And therefore losing.
Yeah, right? The war has been started episodes ago. And what is Rhaenyra's plan? Dressing as a nun? Like, I kind of get what the Black Council is getting at when they're saying, hey, like, let's please act.
What Rhaenyra is preventing specifically is a dragon war.
Which is well and good when she's concerned about her immediate family. But for people who care about the thousands of people in this realm, you know, the men, the soldiers, and their families who are going to be affected by a war of armies, it would be a lot better for the realm if the dragon riders sorted this out among themselves.
Yeah, if this was just a dragon war, it's probably for the best because the dragons might all die.
Yeah.
And then we won't have to deal with dragons anymore. I would like to see Rhaenyra's council's reaction to Mysaria being a significant presence in their governance.
Yeah.
Because if I'm
Alfred Broom.
Their name is Broom. Sir Jocelyn Mop.
House Broom, we do not mop.
How do I feel about this foreign spy master who's a commoner who just jumped ship from the Greens coming on board and telling me what to do?
There's definitely a comparison between Mysaria and Larys as well, right? Because Larys has just made the Master of Whisperers and Mysaria has just become a advisor to Rhaenyra. And you've got to wonder if there's any crossover between like Mysaria's spy operations and Larys's spy operations.
And we were speculating about Blood and Cheese. Larys might have let that happen and Mysaria also facilitated it.
Yeah, for all we know, Mysaria just called up her good old mate Larys and said, yo, can you get Blozo and Cheezo and get him to do a little murder?
Do you think
on the sly?
Do you think Eric Cargill didn't confiscate her phone when she was captured on Dragonstone? How's she going to call Larys?
She kept it secreted. Secreted.
It was a fax machine, actually. They didn't look for a fax machine.
Pretty hard to secrete a fax machine. But I've seen it done. So, yeah, I think that Larys and Mysaria is like, are they like arch rival spy masters like Varys and Littlefinger? We saw so much of how Mysaria's spying operation worked. We know that Talia and Jon spied for Mysaria. We saw a little bird watching something and then telling Otto about it. We know we have seen Mysaria pay her spies. We have seen how that works. Larys, nothing. So how does he know?
Is it just torturing folks? Is it just listening in on conversations?
We have never seen him get information through torture.
True.
We've got to see those firebugs again, right?
Yeah. Are those spies now? Who are these people?
Or do they no longer breathe our air?
Do they now... Has he installed gills so they now breathe our water?
Yeah.
That's what happened to Jon and Talia. Phew, I thought he killed them.
We're just going to see them swimming.
Blub, blub.
And all of this Rat King symbolism in Helena's drawings maybe he really is skin changing.
And, you know, we go to Harrenhal this episode and we see how spooky and mystical it is.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, that is Larys's house. That is his home. That's where he grew up.
And Simon says, oh, that guy's weird. We don't like Larys.
Wouldn't it be great if Simon and Alice Rivers told us things about Larys?
Yeah.
And how Larys does things.
Maybe they will. I mean, Alice Rivers herself does some pretty spooky shit in this episode.
Yes. I would pay cash money that Alice Rivers and Larys and Alice.
Larys and Alice
Say
Rivers.
that 10 times.
Larys Rivers, Alice and Rosaria. Rhaenyra Baylor, Rhaenyra Layla.
Alice Rivers and Larys Strong sitting in a tree. I reckon they're connected. I reckon they hung out and read magic books under the weirwood tree and made blood sacrifices.
Yeah?
I think so.
Do you think Lionel and Harwin were sort of blood sacrifices?
If Larys has magic skin-changing powers, I think he had them before he murdered his family.
Oh, yeah.
But I think that's a great question. Like, what was Alice Rivers doing when that fire happened? Did she help arrange it?
What was Simon Strong doing?
Sudoku, probably.
He was tending to the beans. We get a Rhaenyra scene. My God.
So Rhaenyra sends Rhaenyra to the Vale with Joffrey's little dragon Tyraxes, and with Aegon the younger and Viserys the younger, not actually called the younger, but he's the younger, and also with Stormcloud, who is Viserys's dragon?
I thought he was Aegon's dragon.
Might have been Aegon's. Rhaenyra's being the babysitter for these little tykes.
Yeah, Rhaenyra says, you got to be their mum while I can't. Again, reminding us of what Daemon said in episode 1, the mother grieves while the queen shirks her duties. Rhaenyra's decided that she can't be a mother now, she has to be the queen. Which
is really funny that she's forcing the role of motherhood onto Rhaenyra, because Rhaenyra's whole beef is that she never wanted to be a mother, she wanted to be a dragon rider, and now she's forcing that thing. Just like Emma forced it onto Rhaenyra, Rhaenyra is now forcing that same role onto Rhaenyra. It's just so ironic that Rhaenyra is the one passing down this particular duty. It doesn't seem as though Rhaenyra is feels super loved or super close.
Especially now that Luke is dead.
Yeah, Luke was Rhaenyra's future. That was going to connect her to Driftmark, but now that's lost. So it's like she's got nothing.
Yep.
This sucks.
Yeah, totally on board with you, Rhaenyra. It sucks.
From Rhaenyra's perspective, of course, it is a smart idea to keep her kids safe. Because we've just established that kids get murdered on this show. Hey, that's the Isle of Faces.
Oh my God.
That's the Isle.
That's it. The first time we're seeing it.
This is where the pact was signed between the First Men and the Children of the Forest.
The Green Men still are to this day.
That's where the Children of the Forest and the First Men had that orgy that created the Green Men, which are half Children of the Forest and half human.
As written.
Okay, well, that's a theory. George doesn't actually use the word orgy, but you know that he wants to. It's the most magical place in Westeros. It's very mysterious.
No wonder Harrenhal is so fucked up. The two craziest things that could have been happening there happened.
Daemon sneaks in like a secret agent.
He's LARPing, I think.
Oh yeah, he's checking all the hallways. Hey, is that a weirwood route?
I believe that is a weirwood route running through the castle.
I was unbelievably stoked to see that.
That shot of Daemon opening onto the courtyard is pretty cool.
Is this the room where Viserys was named heir to the throne?
It sure is.
These House Strong banners are still tattered. That's one of the sort of ironies, is that this super strategically important castle is a ruin that is not well kept together.
It'd be impossible to keep running well anyway. It's a Sisyphean task.
It is really funny that Daemon's like, give me a fight, and there's just this old guy offering him venison.
Would you like some beans?
With his roast pumpkin. I could go with some roast pumpkin.
Pumpkin is a New World vegetable, by the way. So
Ryan Condal.
No, it's mentioned in the books as well. So that's dicks on me, actually. I think George, he went out of his way. He doesn't mention tomatoes or potatoes once in the books, but then there's pumpkins all over the place.
Is a gourd the same as a pumpkin?
Gourd refers to pretty much any squash, which pumpkins are.
Are squashes all New World vegetables as well?
Or maybe not all of them, because zucchinis are You know what? I'll do my own video on it, thanks very much.
Because I'm just saying, maybe that's a non-pumpkin squash.
Oh, true.
I'm sure there are other orange.
And pumpkin is an old world word that refers to a melon. So,
see, I'm just trying to help you out.
There's some archaic shit going on there.
48-minute long squash taxonomy video coming soon on Glidus.net.
Don't you dare me.
Don't think I'm joking.
I have dared. I found it rather stimulating.
So Simon Strong's like, yep, okay, we'll kneel to you, whatever. But what do you want for dinner, though?
More importantly, black cabbage and peas.
I like to think that Simon Strong, like, he's been in Harrenhal for a while. He knows it's a bit of a revolving door. You don't try to control Harrenhal.
Oh my god, an excuse to no longer be in charge of Harrenhal?
Yeah.
I'll take it. He wanted the battle. He wanted glory and triumph and victory and vengeance, and he's having beans and cabbage.
Is beans. Hey,
What's
that's
this?
an interesting chair.
Yeah.
I love these sons. What a bunch of gormless
this is the very
individuals.
picture of gormlessness. You look up gormlessness in the Pictionary, and there they are.
But this guy has a chin like Matt Smith. Do you think they're
Yeah.
related?
That's a Habsburg. I'm sorry to this actor, but that's a Habsburg chin.
So Daemon needs an enemy, and the best enemy he can find is the peas. It's very funny. I think that circle thing is interesting.
Yeah, that's some Ironborn shit. That's the weird thing about Harrenhal, is it's an Ironborn castle.
So this is interesting. Simon says, Laris sucks. I hate him. Don't talk about Laris to me. Simon might know that Laris killed Lionel and Harwin.
I think he basically accuses him of it in this scene, doesn't he?
And it makes me wonder, well, what other messed up stuff did Laris do
Yeah.
at Harrenhal as he was growing up? What else does Simon know? How much did Lionel know? Like, why didn't Lionel, like, sort of sit Laris down and say, hey, enough with the murders, sonny?
I see you hanging out with those rats.
I'm sure that if you did burn a castle so badly that it melted, it probably is not very watertight. The drainage situation would be garbage.
And things that have been burnt to a crisp don't catch fire very well because they've already, given off all the fire they can. All of their energy's been exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
That's what Harrenhal is an exhausted place. It's a ruin.
It's a temple to the pointlessness of trying to have the biggest castle and be the strongest lord. All of this story exists in the shadow of past failures. Like, for me, it's like the death of Arthur Dane, right? Like, Arthur Dane is the noble, heroic,
There's a reason his
knight.
name is Arthur, right?
Yeah, King Arthur.
The legendary figure who, was the best.
Yeah, he is the knight, the ideal of a knight. And he's dead.
Yeah, that ideal is dead.
And
The biggest castle is dead. It's a ruin. There's
whole
no Lord of the
story-
Rings bullshit here where there's an epic legendary hero and an evil king who needs to be defeated. It's way more complicated than that. The idea is dead.
so how do we live in a world where the idea of perfect heroes and villains is dead? How do we live after the realization that reality's hard? Daemon wants to be referred to as His Grace.
My God. He says that they're going to raise an army at Harrenhal and march on King's Landing to take the throne. There's no mention of Rhaenyra. I'm going to take the throne. Secret third faction.
Do you think Daemon would kill Rhaenyra so that he gets the throne?
Oh,
You saw how his hands flickered up to her neck.
I think at this moment, like if you ask me today, is Daemon going to kill Rhaenyra if he thinks it's going to give him the throne? I think the answer is probably yes. Last week, maybe not. And in the future, who knows?
I think what we know about Daemon is that he's deeply impulsive. Our castle has already been attacked by a dragon lord and it's already been burned, so like, what do you want?
Yeah, we've been here.
What are you going to do, burn us again? I love that. Just the pointlessness of it all is fantastic. He does look a bit like George Martin.
He does look like George Martin.
Just needs the turtle hat.
Maybe a bit of a longer beard.
Sin begets sin begets sin.
And the specs.
Rhaenys said earlier that no one's going to remember what started this war between the Greens and the Blacks. And Simon is saying the same thing. No one remembers what the Blackwoods and the Brackens are fighting about. So it's a very deliberate parallel, just highlighting the pointlessness of wars.
And when you're wandering through the Riverlands with Brienne in a feast for crows, do any of those people care what started all of this? Doesn't matter.
They just want a bowl of peas at the end of the day.
Poisoned or otherwise. Lots of talk of Grover Tully.
They say that Grover Tully can't speak, nor seal his bowels. Are we going to see that when Grover Tully appears on screen? Like they've got
I don't want to see a Sesame Street puppet shit himself.
I do. They can't not give some visual nod to Grover, Kermit, and Elmo and their connection to, like, they can't
Don't
not.
forget Oscar,
Oh, look, it's Gwen Hightower.
played by Freddie Fox. Yeah.
He negs Kristen for having social mobility. That's not allowed.
Yeah, but it's such a real thing for someone of his stature to say, though.
You should be scrubbing my chamber pot,
Yeah.
not being the hand.
Yeah.
He just seems like a bit of a douche.
Yeah. This is Otto Hightower's son, everyone. Who would have thought? A douche?
Father of the year, Otto Hightower. Knocked it out of the park once again. He's walking into a situation that he knows nothing about and just waving his opinions about as though he knows anything. He doesn't get what the stakes are.
So he doesn't take Kristen very seriously, even though he's the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard and the Hand of the King.
So I hope there's a moment where Gwaine realizes, oh, hang on a minute. Kristen is the scariest person I've ever met in my life.
That will be very fun. I mean, we get later in this episode a moment where he realizes that he should respect Kristen's word, but it would be fun to see him realize just how scary Kristen it should be to him.
Oh, this is a guy who beats people to death at weddings. Allison, could you have maybe warned me about that? Allison,
Yo, sis.
Let me know, please.
Word to the wise. This guy's fucking weird.
I know a killer when I see one.
How can you tell, Arya? Was it the massacre?
Is it the charred corpses that you're standing in now up to your ankles? Is that it?
This is what I mean when I say that I think their relationship is on the rocks.
Also, look at her body language, like protecting her belly like that.
Although this might just be for appearances, because they are in public.
Do you think Alicent is pregnante?
I don't know. Maybe. She's probably smart enough to take precautions. And that'd be very fun to see, given the irony of, Rhaenyra taking the moon tea in episode 4 of season 1, and then her giving Diana the moon tea in episode 8. Kristen's got a new haircut.
It looks less good. Can I just say that? It looks less good.
Yeah.
You know how Jace had like a massive glow up
Absolutely.
from season 1 to season 2 when he grew out his hair? Kristen has had the opposite.
Since last episode.
Someone with that kind of a bowl cut, I can fully believe is going to commit some war crimes.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
He's not here to look good. Do you think part of our hopes that Kristen's going to die so that no one ever finds out about their crimes together?
But also because he's a terrible Hand of the King. He's a terrible idea to be in charge of the realm.
And also, he doesn't seem to be a good influence on her kids.
Yeah. She's a canny scheme, sir.
But moot! Kristen rides out with Gwaine. We see Cheese getting eaten, ironically.
By a crow.
And so they ride out. I like this shot of King's Landing.
Yummy, yummy.
Is this the gate that Drogon explodes when Drogon kills Harry Strickland?
Who?
Yeah, cool. Okay, so now we're in the Black Council, and all of Rhaenyra's counselors are annoyed that she's not participating in the war that is happening to her.
Rhaenys isn't annoyed.
I think she's a bit annoyed. Some of the counselors are like, send out your dragons and win the war. And Rhaenyra says, we invite our own destruction if dragons begin fighting dragons, which is a fair point.
Dragons are already fighting dragons in the sense that Targaryens are fighting Targaryens. Like, that's already been written. Your destruction has already been invited.
But there is a point of escalation when dragons start burning castles and everyone inside them.
Yeah.
Which is bad. Rhaenyra, what is your plan to avoid it other than dressing up as a nun?
Well, that's it.
That's it?
If that doesn't work, we're done.
She has given peace every possible opportunity.
I love Jace looming in the background of these shots. He's sort of seething. He's become a seether.
He's learned it from Daemon.
Yeah. He is sort of taking on a Daemon-like posture. Yeah. He's sort of trying to be a bad boy. His hand's always on his pommel. Look at him go.
He is Rhaenyra's heir and expects to be king. He wants to prove himself a Targaryen. He has every reason to want to do a war. And he's also a teenager. He hasn't...
His brother just died.
He hasn't experienced back pain yet, so he still fears nothing. Is Stefan Darkland the Lord Commander of Rhaenyra's Kingsguard?
I guess he must be at this point, right?
Someone's going to have to do a Kingsguard chart at some point to tally up.
Pick me.
All the king. All right, well, that's your job.
Okay.
Rhaenys brings up Jaehaerys in defense of Rhaenyra and says that Jaehaerys was great and he didn't do wars. Let's maybe listen to Rhaenyra. They kind of listen to Auntie Rhaenys.
I think Rhaenys is also acutely aware that if it does come to dragons fighting dragons, she is going to die. They're all going to die.
Yeah. Have you noticed that every time Gerardus talks, he leans forward? He has this funny posture and says, oh, well, actually, the thing about the raven is that it has wings and it flaps. He's a bit of a kook.
I really like him.
He seems like he's having fun, so I'm happy for him. Conciliator only has 2 L's, but 1 O, my queen. Is that accurate?
That's not true at all.
Well, in Westeros, that's how they spell it. hey, Rhaenyra, if you like went away so that we could do our
Yeah,
war,
that's
that would be
crazy.
great. If they said, hey, Jace, you're going to be the king.
Rhaenyra's a woman, so she probably shouldn't be in charge anyway.
Rhaenyra's ovaries are wandering again, and we boys need to sort this out, is what they could be trying to tell him.
Yeah. And Jace might fall for that. I
Doing
mean,
that.
we have seen signs of him wanting to go out to war.
Corlys calls them the ditherers of Dragonstone. What a burn.
What a super group.
What a burn.
When's their album coming out?
Oh my gosh. They talk about how Joffrey is now the heir to Driftmark,
I really like that
apparently.
because we were talking about that in one of our other discussions. Like, okay, now that Luke's dead, who's going to inherit? Is it like Rhaenyra or Joffrey? And they're bringing it up. Remember in Game of Thrones towards the end when you would ask questions about the plot and they would never get addressed even a little bit?
The answer was always don't think about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes in those words.
Maybe our purpose is to not know these things.
Maybe we don't need to understand. And the main thing is that we finish the scene so we can get to the catering craft services table.
He keeps fighting over the hash browns on the table. I have much to attend to. I'm done talking to you.
I have barnacles to deal with.
And then he just sort of dithers over there for a little bit.
What is he doing? Standing in the rain. So Rhaenyra is being unwillingly evicted. She's being sent out of home to go to another continent.
She's been voted off the island.
Oh my god.
I love these external shots of Dragonstone. It's so pretty.
It is kind of a dog move for Rhaenyra to give a tiny little baby dragon to Taxes.
For when Vhagar shows up.
Yeah, right? Like, I don't think Taxes is going to be much help in defending the Eyrie.
And quite famously, Vhagar is the dragon that took the veil the last time.
Yeah. Is Jane going to be impressed by this? Is she going to send those famous Knights of the Vale, the stealth knights who can get past Mount Caelan? Never see him coming. Hey, sorry for kicking you out. It's not you, it's us. If you had a dragon, it would be different. She feels undignified being sent away to do this, looking after the children. And it seems a bit strained between Baela and Rhaenyra.
But Baela says, hey, at least they're giving you eggs. Rhaenyra is sort of entrusting the future of her house with Rhaenyra here, isn't she? I think that's the idea.
Yeah.
You know, you have my children, you have the eggs. If anything happens to me and Jace and Baela, this is it. Are these Daenerys' dragon eggs?
I know some people have tried to do dragon family trees, but I'm pretty sure George hasn't, which is why, like, I see all these people online saying, like, oh, Dreamfire is the mother of, and then on the Wired thing, the thing on the Wired video said that Cyrax was the mother of the dragon.
It's confirmed in the books that it's Cyrax when it's not been mentioned a single time where those eggs came from. Mummy.
Little Joffrey.
Oh, little Joff.
Rhaenyra is being parted from her children. Will she see them again? Like, she must be wondering, will I see my children again?
Yeah, but this is for their protection. Jaehaerys was killed in his bed. All right, kids, you're off to the Vale. Just be thankful I didn't send you to fucking Storm's End.
So here's another heartbreaking scene.
Yeah, my God. Oh, God, this show's beautiful.
Yeah, no, this is quite a lovely and disturbing scene. Helena talks about her feelings, which she doesn't do very much.
Yeah.
Helena has a different perspective on the world. She experiences the world differently to most people. And here she says, I feel sad about my dead son Jaehaerys, who was murdered in front of me. Maybe I shouldn't feel sad. And I forgive you. And that just like sort of ruins Alicent.
Yeah, I completely believe Alicent being shocked by all of this.
Because Alicent has been grappling with guilt.
Yeah.
For several episodes / her entire life.
Several decades.
Yeah. And here's Helena saying, I forgive you, which it says two things simultaneously. It says, one, you wronged me, and two, I forgive you. So this is like huge from Helena.
Yeah. Alicent's been needing to hear that someone forgives her for a very long time.
Yeah.
Last episode when she said to her father, I have sinned. I need to get this off my chest. He might have already known what she was talking about, right?
Yeah.
Because we talked about how he might have, noticed that she was having sex with Kristen. He said, no, we're not going to talk about that. Which might have been, the sin isn't real unless we speak about it. Let's not acknowledge it. Whereas Helena's here acknowledging things are bad and I forgive you.
Well, like Cheese said, Helena speaks truth.
The philosopher, Cheese.
As the wisest Cheese said, Helena speaks truth. She She tells it like it is.
Should we rank cheeses on how wise they are?
I actually had this conversation.
No way.
I had a cheese conversation. I concluded that the creamy cheeses are the ones that I distrust the most.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that Alicent could always kind of choose to believe that, Helena's fine. She's just a bit weird, but like she'll do her duty and she'll get over it and it'll be fine.
Easier to believe that she's not engaging with her feelings at all.
Yeah.
Could Alicent imagine forgiving Otto?
Yeah, that's such a good point. Yeah. I don't think Alicent forgives Otto. And so this kind of makes Helena the better person. You know, like she's sort of taking the moral high ground. Helena has not wronged anyone, but people have wronged her and she forgives them anyway.
Yeah.
She also talks about how like common people suffer as much as highborn people. But Alicent also shows compassion for Alicent and says, what about your grief, Alicent? Like it's sort of a moment of like, oh my God, Helena is more aware and grown up of all of this than she may seem.
Infinitely more so than her husband. Queen Helena, put her on the throne.
Yeah.
No, don't do that to her.
Fucked up relationships on every angle.
Woohoo. This shot is just beautiful. What is going on here?
Doing a lot of gorgeous things with light, aren't they?
Yeah.
Red Ned and Leon and Martin are Kingsguard now.
That's great.
They're just sort of hanging out. They don't appear to be guarding. They're mostly just hanging out. You think that security would be more of a focus at this point after the death of Jaehaerys?
Well, Aegon's fine because he's putting on Aegon the Conqueror's Valyrian steel armor.
Which, by the way, like, huge just lore thing to do. Like, Aegon's armor, like, holy moly.
Yeah, oh my God.
How did Aegon die? Didn't he have, like,
He had a stroke at the age of 63 or something.
All right, I need to look it up.
Do you doubt me?
Oh, 63.
Fucking bang on.
Let the record show that Glidus was bang on and Aegon was 63 when he died. Yeah, pretty wild. That is the armor that Aegon conquered Westeros with. The armor that he rode Balerion with. So Aegon is LARPing, basically.
Yeah, like just the other day he had an argument with his grandfather where he learnt that he shouldn't be king.
If I wear a football uniform and a football helmet and I hold a football, then I will know how to do a touchdown.
I will become Tom Brady.
Yes, I think that's the logic there.
And earlier this episode he was going on about how I'm as fearsome as the rest of them. I'm cool. I can hang.
I think it would benefit all of us to prevent our king from being brutally slain by our enemies and his body parts scattered to beasts and his court come to ruin.
He's a comedian, isn't he?
And Red Ned is like, what is my life now? I've got to make small talk with this guy at the water bubbler every morning.
Kingsguard cafeteria.
I love this is how Laris gets past security by just being aggressively weird at people. He just says big words at them until they're like,
fine,
fuck whatever,
get on with it.
I don't want to listen to you anymore. I heard that you're being sent into battle so that Alicent can reign in your absence.
Yeah, I just heard that, around.
And then Aegon says, who's spreading that rumor? And Laris is like, oh, I don't know.
No, I didn't make it up though.
Yeah, so it sounds like, Laris just made that up on the spot. Or has been actively spreading that rumor to undermine Aegon.
He just knows how to manipulate him.
He basically convinces Aegon to make him Master of Whisperers. So I guess he now has a seat on the small council, which will change things a bit.
Yeah, woohoo. Rather than just randomly barging in whenever he feels like it.
I think he barges less than he slinks.
He should erupt from some secret chamber no one's ever seen before into the council chamber.
They'll all walk into the council chamber and he'll be like suspended from the ceiling because that's where he sleeps. That seems wise on reflection while standing next to a mirror.
Good one.
Mirror humor. So Aegon cowardly says, you know what? I'm actually not going to risk my life today. Maybe another day.
It's sort of like Laris came in to give Aegon an excuse to think about it a bit more and not rush headlong into battle so he can die.
And so Leon and Martin and Ned invite Aegon to come out and to go to a brothel for their friend. He's got these great crooked smiles, Tom Glencarney.
Wonderful.
So they go out on the town, and my God, is King's Landing just the best party city ever?
It might be.
It seems like there's a festival, every night. It's amazing.
Maybe they're showing us this so that we can see what it's like later. Ulf! From last episode. I told you it'd be important.
I couldn't possibly tell you my secret, and there's Diana.
Yeah. Hi, Diana. I hope you're doing not so terribly.
Now, King Aegon turns up. Her at the place of work. I wonder if we're going to see her again. It's a reminder of how bad Aegon is, and it's a reminder of the long-lasting impact of his behavior. So Ulf says, oh, hey guys, I couldn't possibly tell you, but by the way, I am a Targaryen bastard because I'm the son of Balon, who is the father of Viserys and Daemon. Do you think this is how he gets free drinks? He just walks into every pub and says, hey, I'm a bastard of the Targaryens.
It might be a part of how he just goes through life. Do you think he's bullshitting? Because like his mate next to him says, "Oh yeah, we can tell from your hair."
Maybe he's lying, but I'm sure they're introducing him for some reason.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't matter if he's lying.
He looks appropriately terrified when the king that he just bad-mouthed walks in.
I don't know if Balon would have bastards.
Balon was married to Alyssa, right?
Yeah, and supposedly like the light in him went out after Alyssa died, right? And he never remarried because he just didn't want to.
So he never had sex again?
I don't know.
If Balon the Brave had a bastard son, do you think that Balon would provide for that son and acknowledge that son? Probably, right?
You'd think someone who the story speaks so well of as Balon would do that.
And yet, every character in this story has layers and flaws and faults and mistakes.
But I feel like Balon the Brave is sort of like our Arthur Dane. He's like, you know, and Baelor Breakspear
He was
as well.
too good to live.
Yeah.
And that's why Otto poisoned him.
Yeah.
Aegon and the boys make this kid drink and say that he's going to have sex with a sex worker.
I mean, at least Aegon's having fun.
At least Martin's having fun. Look at him. Woo!
If you're walking through a crazy brothel where people are having orgies behind every curtain you open and the guy walking you through there says, yeah, this place is sort of boring, that guy is up to some crazy shit.
Oh, look at that expression. So Aegon walks in on his brother Aemond embracing Sylvie, who is the sex worker who took his virginity. And Aegon then relentlessly mocks Aemond while he looks really ashamed. And he really goes in on him, really mocks him, and then Ewan pangs dong.
He earns his paycheck.
And he just walks out of there naked, which I love so much.
That is the biggest baller move he could have possibly done.
Is he like walking to the locker room or is he walking back to the Red
He's
Keep
going
naked?
home.
Do you think he's got Vhagar
Yeah,
parked
Vhagar
in the
is just
parking lot?
outside. Aegon should have known that he was here.
You would not want to ride a dragon naked. I suppose they have saddles. This really seems like a time when they could have bonded after the death of Aegon's son Jaehaerys.
That Aemond feels guilty for.
And now that like Otto is gone, like it really seems like a time for them to come together.
Yeah, we need each other at this point.
But Aegon is a dick. Their dynamic has not changed since they were kids at the Dragon Pit and Aegon was bullying Aemond.
Well, he's a twat.
So despite all of his big dragon and his warrior prowess, Aemond still seems vulnerable to Aegon's bullying.
Do you think Viserys ever drunkenly walked in on Daemon?
I think it happened like every other Thursday.
Yeah.
And Daemon was equally livid each time. I will claim to have murdered a child Luke. That's fine.
That's cool.
But liking
that makes
a
me
whore,
look cool.
no, that would be shameful.
Yeah. Rhaenyra is crying over her children's toys. Why didn't she send the toys with them?
I was confused by that as well.
She goes through a little lockbox where she has a pile of shit, I guess.
Yeah, very odd that she keeps her letter from Alicent in the same box that she keeps her statue of a sailing ship and some of her children's toys and a fidget spinner and a Wi-Fi password. Like, what is this box of things? So then
Allen keys.
She finally opens...
Random nails and screws.
Kind of insane that she didn't open this earlier.
She didn't wanna. The calligraphy on display here, though.
Alicent is the sort of girl who had like 4 different flavors of Smiggle highlighters, and she was like practicing her signature all through grade school. Like, she knows how to calligraphate, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, because that's a real word.
Well, I just made it up. Kind of crazy that Rhaenyra is waiting until now to actually read the letter from Alicent. Like, that's pretty wild.
She couldn't bear to earlier. I think that makes sense.
It does, because she has feelings about her best friend who betrayed her, and she's kind of scared and hopeful. And as long as she doesn't open the letter, it's still possible that Alicent forgives her.
Yeah. Gwaine Hightower is sort of riding off away from the army to go hang out in an inn, because he's a prissy little twat.
He wants a pint and a palmy, and Kristen says that a pint and a palmy is not in our tactical
That's not in the
manual.
budget.
There is a class divide here, which is interesting for them to explore.
Yeah, Gwaine's like, oh, it'll be good. We'll just hit up the inn so we don't have to sleep with all those other people. Am I right, boys?
But I get the sense that Kristen, like, this is like water off a camel's back. Like, Kristen has heard all of this before.
Yeah.
He is unfazed. He's got bigger things to worry about than Gwaine fucking Hightower. He's having sex with Gwaine's sister.
True. Kristen has the ultimate own against pretty much anyone in the royal family.
Yeah.
Like, if Aegon ever comes at him, I fucked your mum last night.
Yeah. He's got that trump
I
card.
win.
Yeah. So Kristen's operating on a different level to Gwaine. Look how beautiful Moondancer is.
Yay. Oh, look at her. She sort of does have the same club tail as Syrax.
Are they related?
It's more of a leaf than a club here, though, isn't it?
Would you describe
It's
the
fun.
patterns on the wings as marbling or striations? Or stripes?
It does look more like marbling, like the intramuscular fat on a steak.
Would you... All right, if you had to eat one of the dragons from House of the Dragon, which one would you eat?
Won't be Vhagar.
I think Vermax might be juicier.
Vermax, yeah.
Moondancer was instructed to fly high and not engage, but she swoops down on Kristen Cole and spooks him, and they all ride away, and they barely get into the forest to safety before Moondancer eats them.
It's a very fun little tense scene.
Moondancer could have chosen to burn the forest and kill Kristen Cole,
Yeah.
but that would have been pretty against Rhaenyra's orders to not engage. Even swooping was against Rhaenyra's orders. Wouldn't it have been really funny if Moondancer swooped down, grabbed Kristen with its feet, and just took him to Dragonstone? We saw Seasmoke do that in season 1. He grabbed one of the Triarchy people
Yeah, and
and
just
just like,
dropped
threw them. Like, what we've never seen in Game of Thrones is a dragon just grab a person and hold on to them for like an entire journey.
Well, isn't that what Drogon did with Daenerys' corpse at the end of the show?
God, yeah, it is.
I love how this sort of is a wake-up call to Gwaine Hightower. You can sort of see that he's like just encountered death for the first time.
Yeah. Whereas
And Kristen Cole's like, yep, okay, we're not doing that again, and you're not going to fuck up again.
he doesn't even acknowledge Gwayne's like apology because Kristen didn't even acknowledge Gwayne's earlier insults. You
Yeah.
know, Kristen does not care what Gwayne thinks of him. And I like how, yeah, even Gwayne's like apology is a good showing, Sir Kristen. I'm in your debt. Like it's very like fancy lad talk as opposed to Kristen's more direct talk. They are clearly perfect like foils for each
Yeah,
other.
putting them here together is so much fun.
Yeah, they contrast wonderfully. Rhaenyra is saying, I told you not to engage. And Baela's like, I kind of didn't engage. I
didn't burn anyone.
I almost ate Kristen, but I didn't.
It's such a teenage thing to say this. You said not to engage, so I didn't. Exactly.
Yeah, technically I didn't
yeah.
disobey you.
Which is exactly how Daemon talks as well.
True, yeah.
I didn't say anything about them killing the baby, technically.
There is a line in Fire and Blood that says that Baela is her father's daughter.
I wonder if Rhaenyra is thinking that at this point.
Rhaenyra can't escape Daemon, even when Daemon's on the other side of the continent. So Barty and the boys insist that it's time to do a war now, and Rhaenyra, again, delays. Which I'm certain everyone here is furious about.
Yeah. Well, she looks to Rhaenys before she says that. She looks up at Rhaenys and she says, I'm thinking about it. Just give me a fucking moment.
I think you're so right that Jace is going to take action. Like, he's not happy about this.
Yeah.
He's unsure if his mother is doing the right thing.
He might do something silly.
Yeah, I think he might do something silly. Rhaenyra wants to try and avoid this, but I mean, the men are saying the
This is
Greens are
happening.
marching armies. If we don't march our armies, they will take over. They will destroy our allies. They will win. Hey, look, it's a weirwood tree.
Whoa, another one.
This is so funny. Prince Daemon Targaryen, the unstoppable Dragon Lord warrior.
Can't
he
sleep.
came here for a fight, and now it's like, oh, great. Like, the roof's leaking. That's my battle tonight. My battle is going to be getting to sleep.
I'm hungry because the peas were poisoned.
There's more of these circle images
Yeah.
in the background. Isn't that interesting? I'm really impressed by like the set design. I guess they just decided that Harren's favorite shape was a circle.
Fair enough, Haren.
Not a fan of polygons. Is a circle a monogon?
We don't. Let's not get into that because
Okay, let's not get into it. We'll have a separate
it's
discussion.
a topic of much debate. I love Matt Smith's angry face here. Like,
I'm grumpy.
I can't sleep.
I didn't eat the peas and now I'm hungry. He probably could have found an object that is not a sword to block the door, but he's Daemon, so
When
of
you're-
course he used a sword.
When you're Daemon Targaryen, why would you ever use not a sword to do something that a sword can do?
If the problem can't be solved with a sword, it's not a real problem.
That's why he walked away from his children when they were grieving their mother's death. I
Yeah.
can't fix this with a sword, so I'm leaving.
Yep. I loved it so much when he's walking through Harren Hall. And then these like bats fly out
Yeah.
down the hallway, and it's the most like Halloween bat sound effect .mp3 stock sound that I've ever heard. You watch enough TV and you start actually recognizing the same sound bites.
Don't get me
that he
started
used.
about all the sword clashing sound effects. Like, Foley artists have it tough. The bear in Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
that bear roars the exact same as the bears in World of Warcraft. Let me tell you.
So, oh my god, it's a vision fever dream in My Dragon show.
I couldn't believe my eyes.
In the books, many of the characters have crazy trippy dreams.
Yeah.
And I am stoked that it's happening in Hot D.
I'm stoked that it's happening to Daemon of all people.
It should happen to Targaryens especially. It
should happen at Harrenhal
especially. And he wakes up next to the weirwood tree. So it
thank
actually
God.
all makes sense within like the logic of this world.
Thank you, Ryan.
And more importantly, it makes perfect sense for this character. Last episode, he was rejected by Rhaenyra for being a dick and only caring about himself. But here he is having a dream about his guilt that, I have mistreated Rhaenyra. I got a little child Jaehaerys killed. Some part of Daemon, maybe an unconscious part, does realize that he has done bad things and should feel bad about it.
Did you also have the biggest smile on your face to see Millie back?
It was great to see Millie Alcock back, yeah. I was stoked by this scene.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Daemon has tears in his eyes. Have we ever seen Daemon with tears in his eyes like that?
He sort of welled up a bit after his wife died and after his daughter died.
It's amazing. Daemon is confronting his own weakness. He came here to fight some soldiers, but he has to fight his own crimes
fantastic.
and his emotions.
I love it so much.
And then he's at the goddamn weirwood tree and he doesn't know how he got there.
Yeah.
It's incredible. Like he sleepwalked.
I love how he's not in control and he's so aware of how not in control he is.
Yeah, he hates not being in control. And he hates an enemy that he can't fight with a sword.
He sort of hates magic as well. He said, dreams didn't make us kings, dragons did. Sort of refusing to acknowledge that dragons are magic. But now visions are the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, do you think this is going to become his new identity? I'm Daemon the Dreamer, the
visions guy.
Farseer, the lover of trees. Oh, well, that might just happen because Alice Rivers is here. Look at this shot, man.
It's so cool.
Look at this shot.
It's so cool.
It's like we're in a fantasy show or something. This is what I always wanted Ice and Fire to be like on screen.
Hi, Gale.
Alice Rivers says you will die in this place. You'll die in this place. Don't let me do accents. Fuck. But Alice seems to be a witch. She's a witch.
She's a witch.
Can we say she's a witch? She's a
Nah.
witch. The books say that she's like way older than she looks.
The actor Gail Rankin says Alice Rivers has been alive for potentially 400 years, so that's fun. She's a freaky, sexy lady.
How could you grow up here and not become a witch is my question.
I'm so happy we're in Harrenhal. I'm so happy that Daemon has to deal with all this bullshit.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
I just love how unprepared for this Daemon was.
Yeah, he thought, I'm going to storm in, I'm going to kill a couple guys, and I'll wave my sword around, and I'll be the king of Harrenhal.
Yeah.
And it's going to be epic and awesome and simple.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so out of his element. This is a great opportunity for Daemon to become a better person or to achieve some self-examination or to learn a lesson. Will he? And yeah, I love Daemon's just bafflement and vulnerability.
Maybe he's realizing that he is pathetic.
Yeah.
Oh, that shot's awesome too. And it backs right onto the God's Eye.
Oh, true.
That's so
it's
cool.
like reaching out for the Isle of Faces.
It really is.
It's like an antenna, capturing the psychic energy from the Isle of Faces to Harrenhal.
All right, Preston.
It looks as though the castle was built to have this like prow pointing its godwood at the Isle of Faces.
Which is weird because, do you think Haren the Black cared about the Isle of Faces?
Maybe after he moved to the Godswood, he did. Moved to the God's Eye, he did. I don't know. Maybe Haren the Black was a Greenseer king.
Oh my God.
That's why he came to the God's Eye at all.
Oh my God.
I don't know, man. Anything's possible. Man, all the lore magic YouTubers are going to love this.
Oh yeah, they're going to go crazy.
They're going to froth it.
There's going to be so much yapping about this scene, and I'm here for it.
You think we're yapping? There's going to be more. You have not even seen the beginning of the yapping that will occur.
We didn't even dig into the line that Alice says, "You will die in this place." That's going to fuck with Daemon, isn't it?
It is going to fuck with Daemon because Daemon was like, "Oh, Viserys' prophecies were so dumb," except they kind of turn out to be true.
And then he has a very visceral, emotional vision that he doesn't have control over, and he's at a weirwood, and then a witch says, "You're going to die here." How can he not take that seriously?
Shockingly beautiful.
It's so cool.
Rhaenyra asks Mysaria to help her arrange a meeting with Alicent.
Do you want to kill her? Do you want to take her hostage? What's going on here?
Yeah, Mysaria breaks out her usual menu and price guide to well, if you want an assassination, it's kind of harebrained. This isn't in the books. It's a pretty wild thing to do.
Of all the things that aren't in the books, this is the most not in the books, I think.
Rhaenyra just says that Alicent expressed her remorse. So that's all we know about the letter that Alicent sent. I kind of wish we knew more. What changed Rhaenyra's mind? So Mysaria suggests that the only way to have a conversation between Rhaenyra and Alicent is to sneak Rhaenyra into the city dressed as a nun and to go to the Sept, the church. And this is like an extremely heroic thing for Rhaenyra to do, because there's a pretty good chance this will lead to Rhaenyra's death.
It's stupid and brave, like what Arik was doing.
It's insanely brave, and she's putting everything on the chance that Alicent might listen to her and that people will listen to Alicent.
But you know what? It's what I've been saying. This is her last she knows it's stupid. She knows it's a ridiculous idea. But it's the last option she has to prevent a dragon war from happening.
And part of this, of course, is that Rhaenyra knows about Aegon's dream that we have to unite the realm to save the world from the White Walkers. So, yeah, I mean, this is heroism.
It's stupid. Don't get us wrong. What she does is very stupid.
Well, I think what is really stupid is bringing Steffon Darkland, the Kingsguard, who will be recognized by other Kingsguard who will be guarding Alicent.
The only Kingsguard still serving the Greens is Kristen,
who they just saw was outside of King's Landing.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm kind of shocked that Alicent is walking around with just 2 guards through like a stretch of the city. Like all it takes is someone with a crossbow and Alicent will be dead. She's not in like a covered wagon at least.
Where's the litter? Yeah.
It just like after everything that's happened, all the assassinations, I'd be a bit more careful than this. Another circle shaped thing, a bit like the table in Harrenhal.
Yeah.
Pretty aggressive to just pull out the knife right away, isn't it? But in fairness, one of the most recent times that they saw each other, Alicent cut Rhaenyra with a knife. This is very invasive for Alicent. She's praying right now. This is her safe space, the one place where she can be alone. And here's a stepdaughter pointing a knife at her. That sucks.
Rhaenyra in a sept, dressed up as this is offensive. She just doesn't look right.
They talk. I have begun badly, Rhaenyra says.
Yeah. I like how they both acknowledge how insane an idea it is that Rhaenyra would come here.
I feel like she should have leaned a little harder on hey, remember when we were here in this place and we were friends and we shared our feelings, and remember how our dads have pushed us into these shitty situations, and remember those feelings that we shared together? Maybe lead with that.
I get it though, because it's about men pushing them both into war.
But I mean, Rhaenyra doesn't know all that much about what the dynamic is in the Red Keep. She hasn't spent much time at the Red Keep.
Well, I think it's Rhaenyra's faith in the knowledge of who her best friend is. She didn't send Aemond to kill Luke. She didn't send Arik to kill her or her children.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra has to logically assume that it was one of the men in Alicent's camp making those things happen and not Alicent herself.
And also Alicent sent that letter expressing remorse and saying a bunch of other things that we don't know what they were. Rhaenyra brings up the conversation that Rhaenys and Alicent had.
Rhaenys is at the core for the strive for peace.
Yeah, which again is not something that's really in the book. I mean, they've made Rhaenys a pretty central character as one of the people from the previous generation who actually understands history and who understands people and actually wants something better to happen.
And they've also given Rhaenys such a strong association with the stranger, all the death around her family. She's always thinking about death, and it makes you wonder how pear-shaped a thing's going to go if Rhaenys dies.
Rhaenys has had all of that past political experience and all that loss in her family, so she's the perfect person to voice these concerns. So Rhaenyra's like, hey, maybe let's do peace, and then Alicent says, so you've come to surrender? Pretty aggressive, Alicent.
What else is Alicent supposed to assume here?
I think something else Rhaenyra should say early is hey, I'm really sorry about Jaehaerys' death. I think that was Mysaria, honestly blame someone other than Daemon.
Yeah.
Even. Maybe lie. Might be better, honestly.
Because saying Daemon did it, that doesn't look good for you either.
Yeah, exactly. Saying I didn't murder your grandchild, but my husband did. That does not inspire confidence. Alicent is really resistant to the idea of peace. Right away, she's shutting Rhaenyra down.
She's basically right. There are no terms now. The war has started.
Yeah, Kristen has marched off with his army.
Yeah, no terms. The implication there is we win and we'll kill all of you.
Yeah, Alicent needs to say, no, this is a war, but we can end it if we agree to a peace on XYZ terms.
Yeah, but what terms? How?
Yeah, well, one of them needs to leave Westeros, and the men will never agree to it.
And that's just not going to work, is it?
This war that we are not doing, we need to stop doing.
We need to do it even less.
Alicent says that Viserys changed his mind on his deathbed and chose Aegon as heir instead of Rhaenyra.
And Rhaenyra says that sounds like a bunch of malarkey.
And then Alicent says he said Aegon was the prince that was promised.
And that clues Rhaenyra into what was going on there.
They also talk about the Song of Ice and Fire, which is the name of the prophecy.
Oh no, Viserys meant Aegon the Conqueror. He didn't mean your shit son.
This is where it becomes a bit too silly for me. You know, like I've disliked the choice to make Alicent misinterpret Viserys' words about the prophecy on his deathbed and that as a reason to crown Aegon. Like that's always been a bit goofy to me. And I think this scene makes it even more goofy when they're like, oh, we were talking about the other Aegon all along. Oopsie.
Whoopsie doopsie.
And then Alicent's just like, oh, well, I guess that was wrong, maybe, but I
moving
don't
on.
care. Like that is her going, oh, I might have fucked everything up, but it's too late to go back.
Not her fault because, like, what else could she have thought from what Viserys said? She didn't have the context for that because Viserys thought he was talking to someone else. That's the real, like, Scooby-Doo slapstick nonsense.
Yeah, Viserys thought he was talking to Rhaenyra. Like,
yeah, but they had established that he was fucking mental,
they
right?
did. It's just goofy, man. I just feel that it's goofy.
I don't know. Hoster Tully didn't think, like, there are other instances in the series of old dying men not realizing who they're talking to, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, yes.
Like Aemon, right?
Yeah, no, that's true.
I'm not trying to convince you that it's not goofy. I'm trying to convince you that the goofiness is sort of in line with other things we've had to experience.
It does also serve some of the themes of the series because part of the theme of this series about patriarchy is that maybe old senile men should not rule the world. Maybe this monarchy thing is not great. There's been a mistake. There's been no mistake. Are you kidding, Alicent? Are you kidding?
Well, it's what she has to tell herself. She has to convince herself that she's right. It's the whole thing.
She is her worst enemy at this point. And it's a consequence of her upbringing. It's a consequence of her circumstances, but she is her worst enemy. She is not helping her situation now. Maybe if Rhaenyra wasn't pointing a knife at Alicent right now, that would probably help.
Yeah. The circumstances are not in Peace's favor.
And if Alicent really believed what she was saying, she would shout and have Rhaenyra arrested and would end this war. Not arresting Rhaenyra makes no sense, given Alicent's stated position, which is that we are at war and you got to lose.
There's two conflicting positions in Alicent's head, right? There's that, and then there's, you're my best friend, I love you, and we need to not be at war.
Yeah, but like pick a lane. Like literally pick one.
Pick a lane, Jaime Lannister.
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, it's the human heart in conflict with itself. The whole point is that you can't pick a lane because you're cleft in twain.
By the personal and the political.
By the Eric and the Arik. Do you identify more as an Eric or more as an Arik?
Oh, is this a Zoe and Zelda thing?
This is a Zoe and Zelda thing, yeah.
I've always liked to think of myself as more of an Eric, but I don't know. BuzzFeed hasn't made a quiz yet. I don't know.
What a final shot. They keep giving us these like close-ups on Rhaenyra or Alicent looking sad as the final shot. They really are the main characters.
They are.
And of course, there's fire glinting in Rhaenyra's eyes.
There's fire glinting in her eyes because she's out of options now.
Because she sees war
It's
ahead.
the only thing.
I liked this episode.
I liked it.
I feel it was not as good as the previous episode.
And honestly, I'm fine with that because the previous episode was a complete belter.
Yeah, it was an explosion, the likes of which you can't have every week.
If this season ends and episode 2 was the best episode, I'm happy with that.
Yeah, it would not surprise me if that happened. There are only 5 additional episodes
Oh
left.
my god. We're 37.5% of the way through this season.
How many decimal points are you accounting for there?
Well, an eighth, all of them.
Yeah, I thought it was a good episode. I felt like the sister act was slightly goofy. I felt that Simon Strong and Alice Rivers and Daemon's Dream were awesome.
Awesome. Brilliant. Fantastic. No notes.
Aegon back on his shit was fitting.
Always good to see. I think Ulf was fun.
Ulf was fun. Also kind of goofy, but fun. Aemond and Sylvie continued to be cool.
Very brave of Ewan Mitchell.
Do you think that's his actual penis or a prosthetic penis, like Hodor's penis in Game of Thrones?
I didn't take... This may surprise you, but I didn't take a very close look.
Mysaria becoming a member of Rhaenyra's council.
And Laris becoming a member of Aegon's. Very fun.
Can't wait for Mysaria versus Laris action.
Hell yeah. Are they going to like Kamehameha, Gallic gun, beam struggle across the narrow sea?
What if they fusion dance and become the sneakiest sneaker in the world?
The snake spider. Rhaenyra gets evicted.
I liked the Rhaenyra stuff because it just sucks. It just sucks for Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
And it's perfect setup for her to do something about that.
Yeah, it's exciting that we're going to the Vale. It's exciting that we're giving Rhaenyra direction.
Seeing Baylor in action was fun. Helena forgiving Alicent.
What a fucking devastating scene.
Absolutely obliterating Alicent's entire heart, which is probably part of why.
Yeah, that's some context we definitely left out of talking about that scene. And then the Brackens and the Blackwoods at the start of the episode, right? My God.
Yeah. Fan service.
We didn't talk about the opening sequence. There's new things in the opening sequence.
Yeah, that's true.
How did we not talk about this?
That's true. That's
it's the most
true.
important thing.
So they decided to add dead Jaehaerys.
Hell yeah.
I guess the reason why they didn't put it in the previous episode is because the funeral procession hadn't happened yet.
Yeah.
The history hadn't been written yet.
That's right.
It takes time for the history to be written.
Yeah, the embroiderers hadn't kept up yet.
It's disturbing. It's dark. It's appropriate.
And the rat catchers too.
Can you believe the rat catchers made it into the tapestry of history?
Yeah, you'd think that'd be a footnote, but no, it's pretty important.
Cheese is in the
made it.
history books.
Good for you, Cheese.
You're famous, Cheese.
Well done.
And it is blood.
I love
History is
that.
written in blood.
Then it's like all seeping towards the throne, which again,
Whoa.
we forgot to mention that line where Daemon says, it's a chair made of swords.
Oh, that was the best line in the episode. That was fantastic because that was part of the whole thing of like Simon representing like, hey guys, like, don't you think this war shit's a bit dumb? Like we're fighting over these rocks, we're fighting over a chair made of swords. Like, don't you think maybe this is not worth it? Like, yeah, that line was fantastic.
It's a chair made of swords.
All right, we saved the best part for the end.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to episode 3 of Dragon Time with
That's okay.
Glidus and Ultra.
Oh, you were talking to them.
I was thanking myself. This was fun. Thank you for listening and supporting. And we're going to do this 5 more times, whether you like it or not. It's been real.
It's been unreal. It's been fiction.